morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live. I'm Andrea Gomez from Houston and Orlando Sanchez from Montana. We don't hear you, Orlando. We don't hear you. I think we don't have your audio. Okay,
Can you hear
well,
me
we
now?
connect. Now we hear you? Okay,
How's that?
okay. It's better. That happened when we are live and also we are remote. That happened, but it's okay. Orlando's back. So, Orlando, hello. How are you? How's Montana?
Cold today, overcast and about 32 degrees.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. It's like a different world from here. Well, we have a packed show today um, because we have elections coming up on May 6th. So we're trying to put all our candidates and different cities across Texas to present their platform, to talk about their campaign and why they're running for that position. So this year we have May 6th election and also November. So that's why we're trying to get to know the candidates for May 6th. April 24th is going to be early voting, starting early voting, and the elections is May 6th. But before we go with our candidates, we have a prize or a raffle for our viewers. So I'm going to play a video and then I'm going to explain to you guys who is this person and how to participate.
Especially since I've been on Fox, especially with the older ladies, we have a very interesting relationship. Wasn't always that way with me and the older white ladies. They would see me in a supermarket, and even though they'd be inside the supermarket, they would still lock their car. Click. And the older ones would be like, life alert, be ready. But now it's very different. I do meet and greets after the Gut Fill show. And one particular night, this majestic elderly woman, about 80 years old, in her little walker, asked for a hug and a picture, to which, of course, I would do that. And as I leaned down to hug her, she whispered in my ear, "I've got a new hip."
So if you want to watch Tyrus of Fox News channel live here in Houston, you have the opportunity. We have 2 tickets at TLC Live that the promoters just sent it to us. So the only thing that you need to do is go to our website, Texas Latino Conservatives. You need to register, put your name, your email, your phone number, and when it say message, just say that you want to participate on the prize, on the raffle of the prizes of 2 tickets for Tyrus of Fox News channel. This is going to be on Sunday, April 23rd at 7:30 p.m. in the Cullen Theater. So just go to our website, Texas Latino Conservatives, register, put your name, your email, your phone number, and in the message part, just say that you want to participate for the 2 tickets to go and watch Tyrus of Fox News channel live here in Houston this coming Sunday, April 23rd. And then as soon as we finish the show later tonight at night, we're going to just check it out who registered. And then tomorrow we give you a call and we send you the tickets online. So, Orlando, what do we have? What is going on in the political arena?
Well, there's a lot going on, but really we're focused on the May elections, which are very important. As we've always talked about, the elections of local representatives are the most important elections in the state of Texas. We have many city council races across the state of Texas. We have many school board positions that need to be filled across the state of Texas. And of course, we have a lot of propositions on the ballot that will affect every Texan in their respective municipality. We're focused on 2 of them. One is in San Antonio that we'll talk about that has to do with criminal justice, essentially. And on the second one, it's in El Paso, Texas, which is the creation of a new environmental department, which will place burdensome regulation on small businesses, create a behemoth of a department, and actually create more tax burden on the local property taxpayers to fund a brand new bureaucratic office. So we'll be talking about that. But we want to highlight some of our city council members that are, or candidates that are running in San Antonio, our school board members. And so I'm going to go toss it back to Andrea and let her introduce our guest this morning.
So our first guest is Erin Gallegos Reid. She is from San Antonio, and she's running for San Antonio City Council District, position 3. Erin, welcome to TLC Live. Thanks for your time. Thanks for running for this position. And, you know, another woman, another Latino woman, we've been seeing this trend the last, I believe, 2 years, that we're seeing a lot of Latino women running for office and give back to the community and serve to the community. So we're very happy and honored not only to have you in TLC, but to be part of our family now. So Erin Gallegos, good morning and welcome to TLC.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
So give us a little bit of your background and then why you decide to run for this position.
So I'm a former journalist, and I also have taught public school for 15 years. I have always lived in this district in San Antonio. My whole family lives here, and I have been encouraged to see the newer young families move in, but discouraged when I still see pollution, crime, drainage not addressed, packs of stray animals, mostly dogs. But before the pandemic, we had maybe 5 or 6 strays, but they were solo. Now you're seeing them in packs, and it's very dangerous for our community. We had a horrible tragedy on the west side of San Antonio where an 81-year-old man was mauled to death. His wife was also attacked, as well as the dogs, 2 dogs, got loose from a yard, and they also bit the firefighter and the neighbor who was trying to help them. So we need to make sure this is a priority. I also learned that City Council or the ACS receives $20 million from our city. We need to hold them accountable to how they're spending the money and how they're recruiting officers to clean up our streets and provide a safe haven for these pets.
So Erin, you said that you're a journalist, and
Yes.
Where do you used to work?
So I started as a newspaper reporter, sports writer here in San Antonio. I was a freelancer at the San Antonio Express News, the Dallas Morning News. Then I moved to NBC and then ESPN, where I did NBA and a couple of MLB X Games, a lot of production there. And most recently, I've been freelancing in San Antonio, producing a local show, as well as writing for a paper.
So how is that from a journalist now to in politics and to serve your community? What do you saw in all these years as a journalist and covering different areas that you needed to step out and be for your community as and serving as or looking for the position in city council?
So I started doing sports, and I've always done sports, but as I became a homeowner and got older, I started to see different issues and I saw them never get addressed. So then when I would call 311 or when I would call our council office, just getting things just stuck in limbo, and the pandemic did have some effect on that. But even after coming out, just our concerns are largely ignored. So when I started meeting other neighbors, and I don't mean next door neighbors, I mean people on streets down the way from my neighborhood, and we were able to, as private citizens, work with our safe officer in town to remove a homeless encampment of 45 along Westfall between Gevers and New Braunfels. And I've also worked with that same safe officer to put a speed radar on our street because we've got street racing. And that's also very dangerous for the community. Just last week, a guy was speeding down, I guess it was about 11 o'clock in the morning last Thursday, and his car surfed through the yards and landed 3 houses down in front of someone's yard. Luckily, it missed the house and no one was seriously injured, but those are the kinds of things we're seeing.
Erin, a couple items of note. Yeah, a couple items of note. First of all, I don't know if I told you when I visited with you on the telephone that the reason I'm in the United States is my father was hired as the first Spanish broadcaster in Major League Baseball. back in 1962, broadcasting for the Colt 45s, who became the Houston Astros. So I guess we have a little similar background with regards to sports. But I wanted to, first of all, give us an idea of the geographic location of your district. Where in San Antonio exactly is it? What is the population in terms of ethnicity? And what are the issues that are particular to that district, aside from the ones you just mentioned?
So we are the south and southeast parts of town. We're bordered by I-90, which takes you to Houston, or I-10 US 90, which takes you to Houston, all the way down past 1604 and down on the east side through Rigsby. And then on the south side, we're bordered by 35. So we are the largest district in San Antonio at 77 square miles. We have approximately 175,000 residents. 15.7% voted in the last municipal election. And our concerns are chiefly public safety, drainage, and infrastructure. We need equitable resources. The taxpayers, all we're seeing are increases on our property taxes, but we don't see the resources coming in. There's a lot of focus right now on Brooks City Base, which is a large entity that used to be Brooks Air Force Base back in the 90s, and it was shut down. Now we see a lot of corporations coming in, and I'd like to see them invest in our infrastructure and public safety.
Also, there's a proposition on the ballot that we're going to discuss later with a former San Antonio police officer, but essentially, how will this proposition, first of all, tell us a little bit about the proposition and how will it affect the voters and the residents of San Antonio?
So Proposition A, also known as the Justice Charter, has 6 proponents that are looped into one on the ballot. So here they want to decriminalize theft up to $750. They want to also decriminalize voyeurism. They also want to create a position called the Justice Director, which is a redundant position, as this position would decide which crimes are prosecuted. And we already have a district attorney and his staff to do that. The other concern about that position is they don't require a law enforcement background, and that's very dangerous there. You don't want someone who doesn't have boots on the ground experience making decisions and making, especially what crimes to prosecute. They also have want to decriminalize marijuana and abortion, which are not within the scope of city government's power. So those two things are moot, and those should be addressed separately. But the biggest concerns that I have and that my neighbors have voiced are we are a community of many small businesses which are still reeling from the fallout of the pandemic. They do not need to have this proposition passed and face up to having their buildings spray painted up to, I think it's $2,500 worth of damage of spray paint. And these criminals would just walk away with the citation. This proposition also wants to codify cite and release, which has harmed this south side and the southeast side. Our auto thefts are up, I guess it was 60%, the San Antonio Express News reported today. So this is something we can't see. And we just have the crime that's spreading right now. It's teenagers. You can see on our Nextdoor apps and different Facebook neighborhood forums where Ring cameras are capturing high school, junior high kids walking up and down, checking all the handles of the doors to see if they can get in. And sometimes they do, and they just rifle through, take what they want and leave. And so right now, yes, these crimes can be punished, but should Proposition A pass, that won't be the case.
Erin,
It's interesting to me how people always decriminalize. In other words, we have examples in Seattle, in Portland, cities, San Francisco, Austin, Texas, completely out of control, where those that do not abide by our criminal code, the penal code, are running loose in the streets. And here, to give you an example, because most people don't realize, if you're a single parent or a family and you bought your son or your daughter a laptop for school, for $700 and somebody breaks in and steals that laptop, there essentially is not going to be a consequence. That's a hardworking family that pays taxes to fund the police and the criminal justice system, now being asked to fund a new department within the city that has really no prosecutorial power according to the Constitution of the state of Texas. And they just don't value the hard work of the average San Antonio citizen.
So there's a group called Act Forward that presented the signatures to put this these propositions on the ballot. And I'm glad to not see many of those signs here in the South and Southeast parts of San Antonio. They're mostly focused on the younger crowd, trying to get them to say, hey, well, we want to decriminalize marijuana and decriminalize abortion when the city doesn't have that power. And a lot of the younger people are, I believe, falling prey to this and going along with this idea. But the older generations and even people in their later 20s are asking the important questions of, well, do we even have the ability to do this? So there are many rallies coming up. Our parades for Fiesta are coming up. And there's a lot of awareness of the Proposition A and what it truly means and what can be done for our city and what it could do to the detriment of small business, children, women, and our community at large.
Erin, so your elections is May 6th. We're going to start early voting April 24. So call to action where we can find you, and please encourage people to go and vote and the importance to participate in these elections.
Absolutely. So early voting does begin on Monday. There are 6 polling locations in District 3. Monday through Thursday, they'll be open from 8 to 6. I will be at McCreeless Library, the Mission Branch Library. There's also voting at Precinct 1 office, East Central ISD Administration's office, and Southside ISD's administration office. The polls will be closed on Friday for the Battle of Flowers Parade. They'll resume voting on Saturday. Then that will be from 8 to 6. Polls will be closed on Sunday. Then Monday and Tuesday, early voting resumes May 1st and May 2nd from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Then Election Day is May the 6th. And I want to serve my community. I want to represent the voice of the residents. We need to take our focus back from the businesses at city base, and these are large corporations, to the residents who own small businesses, who have families, who are elderly, and who are young couples. We need to have equitable resources to have a safe and thriving community for all of us. And I will represent those voices. I will be accessible to my community. I'm out in the community now. My website is electeringalllegosreid.com. And my cell phone number is available on the website, as well as my push cards. That's my family, who all did some fundraisers and some speaking events that we had during this campaign. And I've just been encouraged to meet so many neighbors who are a moderate voice. They are really just wanting safety. They want basics, and they are feeling largely ignored. So that's one thing that I need to address as soon as I'm elected.
Erin, thank you so much. And the problem that you were describing with the teenagers who have been suffering also here in Houston, and I think it's across the country. Well, thank you so much. May 6th, vote for Erin Gallegos, Reid at City Council in San Antonio. Thank you so much. Well, talking about Proposition A, we have also our next guest. He is Denny Diaz, president of the San Antonio Police Officers Association. And he's going to talk about Proposition A, what it means, Proposition A, what is the impact, and why they are saying to vote against Proposition A. Denny, welcome to TLC Live.
No, thank you for having me.
So, Denny Perez, please explain to us. First of all, tell us what are you doing in the Police Officers Association, and then give us the background and what is Proposition A. What is Proposition A? Let's make us understand what it is.
So again, thank you for having me. This is the second time that we've had to deal with a proposition in the last 2 years. I've been president for the last 2 years, 3 months. And when we first started, we had Proposition B, which was taking away our civil service rights and collective bargaining rights. This time around, it's the same organization. They've changed their name from Fix SAPD to Act for SA. They're calling it a Justice Charter. They're wanting to put in a Justice Director that is supposedly to be chosen from the mayor and city council. One of the issues that we have with that is that any individual that is to be interviewed for this position cannot have any law enforcement experience, could not have donated to any law enforcement entity, which also kicks out our military officers or our military retired veterans if they do have law enforcement experience. From our standpoint, we already have a justice director. Her name is Deputy Assistant City Manager Maria Villagomez. Um, the job description that they printed out is actually her job description. I learned a long time ago we don't duplicate administrative jobs. It's not for our taxpayers. It's not conceivable to pay for the same position for two people. One will suffice. As far as this proposition in itself, the city attorney has stated that 5 out of the 6 proposals that are in here are unenforceable. So, what these individuals did to get their signatures is they went around for a couple months with a petition telling people, hey, do you want to legalize marijuana, small amounts of marijuana, and do you want to legalize abortion? But didn't explain the rest of the 11 pages that were on there. In those 11 pages, these individuals can pretty much have the gamut, a free way of committing crime. They do not want any Class C offenses to be arrestable offenses. It's all either a citation or a verbal warning. They want Class B and Class A offenses of theft, criminal mischief, and graffiti to basically go with a verbal warning or a citation. We currently have a cite and release policy, but it's up to the officer's discretion on the situation. They want a blanket where it removes officer discretion, and we can't have that here in San Antonio, much less the rest of the country. So we are battling it as best we can.
Danny, this is Orlando Sanchez. I want to get a feel from you as to what what is this push that's going on in municipalities around the country to do this, to essentially emasculate a police department, ignore the penal code, and sort of create chaos in the streets? What's driving this?
Well, it goes back to the last couple of years and the last several elections, whether it's federal, city, or state. The push is coming from the West Coast, and you mentioned it earlier. What's transpired in Seattle, Portland, and Oakland, and if you look it up on YouTube, some of those reports out of those cities have basically fallen. Oakland was a beautiful city, and now you have individuals over there urinating in the streets, shooting up drugs in the streets, and the officers really have no say so because this was pushed in those cities. It was pushed in Austin back on February 18th. They had the street racers. When police showed up, they started throwing water bottles, rocks, fireworks at the officers, and they lost complete control. We can't have that here in this city. We have a beautiful city, and we don't need these individuals to bring this type of thought process or lack of discipline, should I say, as far as discarding the laws. We have laws in place for a reason. Those laws, if they disappear and we allow this proposition to pass, I don't think we'll ever get this city back to where it is currently. Um, some of the things that are on there, especially with Class C's, Act for SA goes, their executive director, Nanda Thomas, goes out and states that they are not violent crimes. I beg to differ on that. On a Class C, there's such a thing as assault by contact. Here in these next couple of weeks, we have historically in San Antonio, it's called Fiesta. It's 17 days of party, parades, bands, food, you name it, it's there. But the criminal element it thrives on this. So, in that assault by contact, if a gentleman walks up to a lady and either grabs her buttocks or pinches her, or much less grabs her from the front side, what is the expectation? If we catch him currently, he's arrested, right, by the Class C. Again, officer discretion. Could he sign a citation for that? Sure, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to be arrested. By this here, it's basically saying that it's a citation or a verbal warning. I'm sorry, if somebody touches my wife, I don't want the individual to have a verbal warning. They
Absolutely.
need to go. And I don't think any female in the United States wants that to happen. Again, it goes back to they're wanting an individual that has no law enforcement experience to be a justice director. This is precisely the point that we're making is you don't know how these laws work. If you don't know, how does this benefit the community? From our standpoint, it doesn't. It's a detriment to the community.
Danny, I want to ask one other question, and that is San Antonio, unlike other cities in Texas, is heavily dependent on tourism, mostly because of the Riverwalk, mostly because of the activities like Fiesta that you'll be celebrating. And as you know, in San Antonio, in the central business district, there are thousands of hotel rooms that get packed every year. People coming from across the world to experience the restaurants, the entertainment, the beauty of the Riverwalk. It's very family oriented. Has your association looked at the economic impact, not only of creating a new department and taxing your taxpayers to fund this, but also as tourists begin to leave and that hotel occupancy tax goes down, what is the negative economic impact for San Antonio? Has anyone discussed that?
So I bring it up quite frequently, and I look at it as, look, it's history. It's already happened. It's already actually happened here in San Antonio with one CVS pharmacy, where on the west side of town it closed down because the shoplifting and the graffiti that they just constantly had to deal with. They've closed it down, but nobody pays attention to it because it's in the shallow west side of the city. I bring it up because you look at what's happened in those other states and in Austin. Our biggest problem is this: we have a large contingency of mom and pop stores, convenience stores, restaurants. Um, this organization, Act for SA, cannot tell the community how they're going to make those business owners whole. I use scenarios that, kids will be kids. If they go do a beer run at a store, how much beer can they steal before it gets up to $750? Who actually pays for that? Well, it's the store owner on a merchandise that he uses. And then I've had some individuals say, well, that's why they have insurance. Well, if you look at the backside of that, that's why our insurance rates go up, right? It's gonna collapse as a whole. Graffiti up to $2,500. To me, that's absurd. The city of San Antonio dictates what that amount is. It's $4 a square foot for sidewalks, streets, side of the highways. That's 625 square feet. That's an efficiency apartment that they could basically do that and not get into any trouble. Our standpoint is this:
Dan,
if our local community falls, this city's going to fall. If we just got out of COVID, they can't sustain another issue like that and keep running their business.
one other comment I want to make is that, people often wonder why we get. I know that a lot of our citizens have never traveled to Caracas, Venezuela, or cities that have completely disintegrated. But even here domestically, you can experience that by traveling to San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, in some cases even Austin, Texas. The just the vagrancy, the disorder, the smell of urine in the streets, the drug abuse in the streets, the petty crime that goes on. And so people often wonder, these organizations act like they're trying to do good, but you hear the left, the liberals say, oh my God, in communities of low resources, there's food deserts. You don't have a grocery store. There's no pharmacy. There's no place. Well, of course not, because as you mentioned, Danny, businesses close up, they leave. And so rather than making the community better and have more access to grocery stores, pharmacies, tire shops, they're closing down. So they're actually creating a bigger desert. Is that true or not?
That's absolutely true. So one of the things that I did to try to combat this, right? This is not a party issue. This is a bipartisan issue. It's a community issue. If we can't get our politicians and us together as a whole and combat this, it's incumbent on us too. That would be our fault as far as citizens of this city. It is incumbent on each and every one of us to get this city to thrive, right? We use the example of, you see something, say something when there's crimes involved. But here, if we allow this as a community, it's just as much our fault because we didn't stand up for the rights of our businesses, our hotels, convenience stores, you name it, it's all there. Fortunately,
I just,
I have been able to acquire quite a few Asian Society, convenience store unions, the hotel unions, all four chambers, the Greater Chamber, North Chamber, South, and Hispanic Chamber, are on board So they realize the detriment that this could cause. We are all working together to defeat this. Unfortunately, city elections, very low turnout historically here in San Antonio. I think it was mentioned earlier, 15% the last time. So we have to make sure and educate as many people as we can on how this affects them and how it's a detriment to them.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you said about this being a nonpartisan issue in the sense that you need everybody voting against this, whether they generally vote with the Democrats or the Republicans. But I'm going to make an editorial comment, and you don't have to respond. But I can tell you that these props, Danny, that are being pushed all over municipalities are not the results of conservatives pushing this. This is the far left liberal organizations that have infiltrated the Democratic Party. I'm sorry, but we're gonna roll up our sleeves at Texas Latino Conservatives and work with everybody in San Antonio to try to defeat this, because at the end of the day, you're correct, Danny, it affects Democrats and Republicans. But I want people to know that are watching this program, these policies do not emanate from conservatives. I don't know of any Republican that's ever proposed a ridiculous proposition that emasculates the police, makes the community more dangerous, moves businesses out of the community, and depletes the tax revenue of a beautiful city like San Antonio that depends on tourism. And so that's my editorial comment, Danny. I'll let Andrea ask the question.
No,
Yes,
what I
sir.
feel, Denny, is that I mean, every day we've been seeing that people want to destroy this country. People want to destroy our values. They want to destroy our families, our law enforcement. People want to destroy everything. You know, I'm coming from Colombia, South America. I came to this country when I was 24 years old, and I always admire this country for the discipline. And you were saying at the beginning of the conversation, lack of discipline. For me, discipline is everything, and it comes from home, from our parents to the kids. Discipline is very important, and I'm seeing that these generations, these days, nobody wants to be in discipline, and that's a big problem, because if we don't have discipline, we just tend to destroy everything around us. And this is very sad what is going on. Thank you so much for talk about this, to promote, to vote against this, because many people don't understand. And you were saying something, that the turnout to vote in local election is very low. And not only is very low because people don't care, but mostly is because people don't know and they don't understand and they're not well educated. And when they go all the way down to the ballot and they see propositions, they don't even understand. And to be honest, when you read it, they're not really clear. So for somebody like is not in politics and is not very well educated in this in the political system, they won't understand. So we need more education about these things, and that's why we're TLC. We're trying to do our best, and we're just contributing a little bit, but it's difficult. So Denny, thank you so much. Call to action. Please tell us people when is going to be the election and why we need to just quick and fast, why we need to vote against Proposition A.
Yes, ma'am. April 24th through May 2nd is early voting. May 6th is the day of the election. And I would ask this, when you get to the ballot, please vote against this proposition. It is going to be detrimental to this community. It is a long ballot. One page only is English. The other page is in Spanish. And I will say to my Spanish-speaking friends, por favor, que voten en contra de esta proposición, because it is a detriment to us as a community.
Denny, muchas gracias
Yes.
por habernos acompañado.
Thank you,
Yes,
Danny.
Michelle.
We're with you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
This is very important what Denny was saying, Orlando, and we always repeat it here in TLC Live, that the local elections, people don't pay attention, and what it affects our lives every single day.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we've said it before. The local elections are the most important elections, and you heard Danny talk about it, and you heard Erin talk about it. That 15% of the registered voters will turn out in San Antonio to vote on important issues that are going to affect the lives of so many folks in the Alamo City. San Antonio is a beautiful and historic city. It's sort of the heart of Tejano, Texas. Not only did we have the Battle of the Alamo there, we had the historic missions. It was the place that actually created our system of government in Texas because we had a municipio was set up by the Spanish back in the 1600s to run the local government for the king. You had alcaldes. And so the whole system of government, municipalities, comes from the word municipio, which started in San Antonio, Texas. But unfortunately, the far left wants to ruin cities, create chaos in the streets. They've done it in Portland, they've done it in Seattle, they've done it in San Francisco, they're doing it in Austin, Texas, and now they want to bring it to San Antonio, a community that's hardworking, very much supportive of the military because there are a lot of veterans there. There's Randolph Air Force Base. There was Kelly Air Force Base. There's a whole Brooks Army Medical Center, which is the largest medical center where our combat veterans that are injured in theaters, whether it's in the Middle East or wherever, are flown to Brooks Medical Center. You have a world-renowned burn unit for those soldiers that are caught in vehicles that are exploded by IEDs. San Antonio is a majestic and beautiful town. And this Prop A will ruin the city, not only economically, because as I mentioned, Andrea, people will not be traveling. People, want their children protected. And when you have crime in the streets that the police can do nothing about and detain and arrest the perpetrators, that's deep trouble. They have thousands of hotel rooms around the Riverwalk. Their occupancy will drop from 100% in the summertime down to probably as low as 65%, which is going to be terrible. So that's what we're facing. I encourage people to vote against Prop A in San Antonio.
What I was saying, they want to destroy everything, our community, our streets, our families, and now also our schools. That's why I want to introduce our next guest. She is Suzanne Box. She is running for Lamar CISD School Board, position 7. So, Suzanne, welcome to TLC Live. I'm sorry we've been having technical issues, but we have you back. And I think you heard the conversation that we were having with Denny and with Erin.
I did.
And it's very sad what is going on in San Antonio right now. If Proposition A, so they need to vote against Proposition A. And I was mentioning that we've been seeing that the desire of destruction of our families, our values, our communities is not only in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, across Texas and across the country. So also the education, the system is being impacted for this. So tell us about your background and why you decide to run for this position.
Well, I am a wife and I'm a mother of 5 students, and I've been a resident of Fort Bend County for over 35 years. And just listening to Danny, it's everything he was talking about. You see these things on a national level and they are trickling down into our schools. And for us to think, oh, that won't happen in my district or that won't happen where I am, I think it's naive because we're already seeing it. We're seeing it in Austin, which is only 2 hours away from where we are. So it is a great concern to me what is in our schools. One of my sons has graduated, but I have 4 in LCISD. And I think the next few years are really going to be critical as far as what is allowed into our schools, what we're allowed to teach our students. And so I wanted to be a part of, change, not only change, but just moving forward, keeping academics in school and all the other things that they're trying to bring in out.
Orlando.
So, what are you hearing from the parents? I mean, we think of these issues, for example, we all know that the Houston Independent School District has been taken over by the Texas Education Agency based on legislation written by an African American that the Supreme Court said is actually good law and that the TEA can move. But, part of the problem, and this goes back to Prop A in San Antonio, where people move, they vote with their feet. They leave. not only do businesses leave, but eventually people leave. And one of the reasons, and you know this, Suzanne, why Fort Bend County is exploding, the portions of Fort Bend County that are in Katy and down off of 59 in Houston, is because the education system was valued. It was so much superior to what the Houston Independent School District was providing that people went out to the suburbs. Land was cheap, housing was cheap, and the schools were excellent. But now you guys are experiencing the same thing. So what are you hearing from parents? What are their concerns about what's going on in your school district?
So in my particular area in District 7, we are exploding. I mean, there's a lot of land out here. So you have developers coming in, building apartment complexes. We actually have a rental community that's being built just down the road from our high school. It's Lamar builds their schools in complexes. So you have a 6th grade school, and then right next to that would be a high school. And then right next to that would be a 7th and 8th grade junior high school. And our issue really right now out here is overcrowding. They do not have anywhere to put the students. Next year, our 6th grade school is going to be used as a 9th grade school. So the high school will only be 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And then they are relocating our incoming 6th graders to an elementary school that was built in a neighborhood about 10 minutes down the road. So we're really experiencing a lack of long-term planning. And now the repercussions are hitting us and the development's not stopping. So this is of a great concern to people in our area specifically. I think overall Lamar is growing and expanding, but especially in District 7, it's an issue. And another thing that I have heard a lot about is discipline in the classrooms, or a lack of discipline. And Andrea, you were saying that earlier. You know, we can't control what happens in people's homes, but we can control what happens in our classrooms. And we need to get a handle on discipline in the classroom so that our teachers can get back to teaching, because time they spend on discipline is time away from teaching. This removes a distraction for the other students. You know, when a teacher's dealing with a child that's a discipline issue, there's 25 other students in the room behind her or him, and it becomes a safety issue. It's a safety issue. So I really want to help teachers get back to doing what they loved, why they came to the profession, and I think if we can get discipline under control, and not just under control in the classroom, but really implemented district-wide, because you have some teachers who will enforce the rules and then some that don't. Now, I don't think it's a lack of caring. I think they're stretched so thin that they have to choose where they spend their time. And sometimes they don't have the time to deal with a child. They just ignore that child. And I think consistency and discipline is very key.
Well, Susanna, it's a domino effect. When you don't have discipline at home, you bring that to school. And then when these kids graduate, they bring that to the society. And that's what we're seeing these days, that we were hearing Denny and we were hearing Erin, that's saying, like, we're being seeing, I'm surprised seeing teenagers like 14, 13, 16, 17 committing a crime. I never saw that before. I know, it exists before, but these days it's horrible. It's like every day you're seeing on the news that a teenager shoot another one, that they were in a 16-year-old party. It was in Alabama and it was a shooting. I'm not sure about the details, but it's always something like this happening every single day. And now that we have cameras, the Ring cameras, we've been following the Ring community, and we see every single day saying a teenager just broke into the house, a teenager broke into the car. We've been seeing this. So this is a domino effect. And if we don't raise and educate our kids, we're going to have criminals in the future as an adult.
Absolutely. Right. So I think
Erin,
discipline. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question. You talked about the pressures of development, which is going to create the need for more capacity in the schools, because you're talking about increasing the population of this classroom, which most people don't want. I know that they want to keep a small, certain manageable size so that the teacher can pay attention to all the students. But that's going to require bond issues. How supportive is the community, and how willing would you be to encourage the voters of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District to support those bond issues in the future?
Well, we actually just had a bond election a few months ago, and it was approved for funding for new schools. So we also had a previous bond that was passed. I don't know the exact time frame, but maybe a year and a half ago. I know that our district likes to build the complexes, and it's often hard to find the land that large enough to build those schools. And so right now our district's caught up in eminent domain. We're in the court system, and we've been in it for over a year to acquire this piece of land. And I believe we just entered into eminent domain again into the court system for another piece of land. So it's hard because I understand, and I have not been on the board, so I don't understand all the ins and outs of it. I know there's benefits to building schools together because you help save on facilities, you share parking lots, things like that. So it's cost saving measures, but at the same time, there's districts all around us that build individual schools. So instead of going for a large piece of land that someone doesn't want to sell us, can we buy a smaller piece of land and start building a high school, start building a junior high in areas that are experiencing this extreme fast pace of growth? And so I think we have the bond that passed. So it's just a matter of acquiring land that's available, that we don't have to take from someone via eminent domain and then get caught up in the court system. You know, I feel like with the last bond that passed, that we've been in the courts for over a year, we should have already been moving dirt and, you know, building a school. But because the land doesn't belong to us, we're fighting for it. It's not feasible.
Suzanne, thank you so much. Call to action, where we can find you, and when is your election so people can go and vote?
Yes, please get out and vote. Like you guys already reiterated, these are local elections and they have low voter turnout. This election in District 7 is just school board. There's no city council. So the voting starts April 24th to May 2nd, and voting day is May 6th. And you can contact me through my website. It's www.suzannebox4lcisd.org. I'm sorry, no, that's not true. Not Suzanne Box. Suzanne 4, the number 4, LCISD.com. And that's also my Facebook, Suzanne 4 LCISD. Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much, and good luck. And good luck with not only running for this position, but we need to keep working as a community to prevent this disaster that we've been facing.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Good luck to you.
So May 6th is the elections that we're having our candidates last week and this week, and the following week also we're going to have more candidates for these coming elections, May 6th. That is the local elections in different cities, different counties, and for different positions. So very important that you check in the area that you live what is the candidate that they're running and for what position. But the most important thing is just go and vote. Remember, April 24 it's early voting, and May 6 are the elections. So before we go off the air, I want to remind you guys that we have 2 tickets for the show live here in Houston this coming Sunday, April 23, in Cullen Theater. This is Tires of Fox News channel. We're going to put his clip again. But the only thing that you need to do is go to our website, TexasLatinoConservatives.com, TexasLatinoConservatives.com, register, put your name, your email address, your phone number, and in the message part say that you want to participate for a raffle of 2 tickets of the live show of Tyrus of Fox News channel that is going to be in April 23 at 7:30 at night at the Cullen Theater. So we're going to play the clip again.
Since I've been on Fox, especially with the older ladies, we have a very interesting relationship. Wasn't always that way with me and the older white ladies. They would see me in a supermarket, and even though they'd be inside the supermarket, they would still lock their car. Click. And the older ones would be like, life alert, be ready. But now it's very different. I do meet and greets after the Gut Fill show. And one particular night, this majestic elderly woman, about 80 years old, in her little walker, asked for a hug and a picture, to which, of course, I would do that. And as I leaned down to hug her, she whispered in my ear, "I've got a new hip."
Well, that's funny. So if you want to watch Tyrus live this coming Sunday, we have 2 tickets. Again, go to our website, texaslatiноconservatives.com, and register and just put in the message part that you want, that you are participating of 2 tickets for Tyrus of Fox News Channel Live this coming Sunday, April 23rd. Orlando?
Well, I wanted to give a little background on Tyrus. It's George Murdoch is his name, but he is a professional wrestler. He's 6'7", weighs 375 pounds, and frankly had bought into the liberal left sort of narrative about how African Americans should live. And he woke up one day and realized this is not the lifestyle that I want for me, my family, or my community. And he actually went on Fox News and became a sensation. And he's quite funny. And it's a good story to listen to a man who was raised believing in the liberal left philosophy, but then had an awakening, an epiphany, so to speak. And so George Murdoch is his real name, but he goes by the name of Tyrus, which was his ring name when he was a professional wrestler. Sizable man, has become very entertaining, but at the same time quite educational, to talk about the difference in values of the far left and the conservative values. The very liberal organizations that want bigger government, they want to decriminalize hoodlums in communities such as San Antonio and Seattle and Portland and San Francisco, Austin, Texas. And Tyrus gets it. And so he will be in Houston at the University of Houston at the Cullen Theater. And Andrea has acquired a couple of tickets. It's quite entertaining. I encourage you to enter the raffle and win 2 tickets to go watch Tyrus, George Murdoch. So thank you, Andrea, and good show. And hopefully we won't have these technical issues in the future. And I'm looking forward to next week where we'll have more candidates running for local positions that are very important.
I'll see you here, Orlando. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias por habernos acompañado. Nos vemos el próximo miércoles en TLC Live. We'll see you guys next Wednesday on TLC Live. Go to our website, texaslatiноconservatives.com, texaslatiноconservatives.com. Become a member, register, follow all our events, and stay tuned for upcoming events also in Leadership Latino. Nos vemos el próximo miércoles. Chao, chao.